Everybody, we are covering 5 Diablo IV tips, combat, and movement settings you'll want to use. So let's get going. I'm going to start with 2 tips, just things to pay attention to. The first is when you make setting changes, make sure you're not just covering, like going after the hardest material that you currently can cover, because you are going to have a little bit of a learning curve. Second, you do right away when you try to switch it up, you're going to feel a little awkward. That doesn't necessarily define if the settings are good. You want to spend a little bit of time with them. So just find easier material, test it out, and see what actually is working for you. So let's jump into the settings. I'm going to go ahead and open over here, pressing escape, hit options, and then I'm just going to go to controls, because this is where we're going to spend most of the time on the key binding. So first, I want to kind of show you guys a big thing here. There is a big switch from early game to end game that I make, and it comes down to this little checkbox here. And so what that does is right now it's set to combine your movement, your interact, and your basic skills all on one thing. In early game, it's not really a big problem, but later the mob density gets more, and you're more likely to think that you're trying to move over somewhere and instead click a monster and attack it. Or you think that you're going to try to attack a monster and instead you're going to move towards it and get killed. So later in the game, this is going to be really important to detach. But the default right now is just on that your normal left mouse click. Now, when you click this off, what you'll notice right away is this basic skill slot opens up and changes. It's now unbound. So what I'm going to do is I want the basic skill on a key. All right, now I'm going to put it on G. I'll tell you about that in a second, why I do that. And then we also have an additional thing down here where they have now broke up move, interact, and move and interact. So they have set these separately to the left click and F, but I actually want them back on the same one. I'm fine with that. I don't usually have an issue where I'm trying to open a chest instead of like attacking a monster, so I'm not worried about our movement. So I'm going to leave on that. That still gives me the interactions with all of the people in town and anything I'm selecting. Evade is still space. So that is the first thing that I do between early game and end game, and I do recommend it. Now let's talk about what I did. So I took the basic and I moved it to that G slot. The reason I did that is I actually, let me pull up a keyboard real quick and we'll look in game. So down here, you can see all the things that are assigned. Now G, instead of being on the mouse click or the basic attack is now on this G. And so what that does is I'm setting up right here. And what I have always done is I go A, S, D, F as my 1, 2, 3, 4. So I start moving my skills over to this so that my hand's actually just sitting on the home row. Very natural, especially if you use a computer a lot. It is just there. I do not have to move it around a lot. I also have my thumb ready on the evade. This is going to be the base of what I set up. So I had started using this because back in the day, I talked to the best Quake player in the world, and he was showing me his key bindings, and this is how he set it up. And since I've adapted it to almost every game because I absolutely loved it. So now I'm here. I'm just going to set these up. So then that puts all my skills in a row across the bottom, like exactly how they show, except for my core skill, which is still on my right mouse button. So this is a setup that just lets me be like directly on the keyboard. It also opens up the row above and the row below for adding things that I use a lot of the time. So if we come down here, what I like to have up there is first, I'm going to leave the potion. The potion is usually on Q. And if you're used to dropping down, you can like move to Z or something like that. But for the most part, I leave it up there and I'll just use the pinky upwards to get to that button. But then I'm going to come down, and what I want is things I use like all the time. And it actually comes down to the menu items. So we're going to come down here. I get my character panel. I like to have that on E for myself. But again, this is just, once you're in this position, you can set the keys whatever you're using the most. I'll then also throw my skill tree on R, and then I will look at my skill assignment. That's the thing that lets you decide what skills are actually on your bar. So I'll show you that in a second. Let's go ahead and save that. So that's what I'm going to do for that upper row. When I click on W, that's coming up. When I hit there is my inventory with all my stuff, and then right to my skills. And I sometimes will force this to Paragon. There's another setting where you can let it open up Paragon directly. But generally, whatever I'm using or what I used last is what opens when I press that button. So that is all good. So all my menus readily available. I have all my skills on one row, and I'm not having any interference with my movement at this point. So then the bottom row, that I do a little extra things there too. I'm going to make sure that I can get easy access to my horse because I like jumping on my horse whenever it is convenient. Every time I have a downtime. So we do want to put that on. It already is Z, so I'm going to leave it there. I like it there. Then one other thing I'm going to just make sure is that I have access to my action wheel for emoting, but also because once I save this and open it up, I can also load potions here. So if I customize and then I can, I go to potions, I can drop in a potion that I want to use into this slot. So let's click here and save changes. So any potions that you use, you can actually overwrite a lot of these if you don't do a ton of this. But it is nice to be able to have one of your most common potions just ready to go. So now I hit this, it's right there. I click on it, we're in. Bam, potion is up. So I did mention the evade and keeping on space. What's really nice, if you're trying to use the numbers up here, your hand is like stretched in a really awkward position. But when you're sitting on the home row, you have all these buttons accessible easy. Their map still is over here. Your hold in place is here if you want it. And then your evade is here. But not having it all stretched out and weird so that when you like get excited, you know, like make mistakes, this is a great place to do it. And you're not pecking around. You will eventually learn where these keys are that you're using all the time without having to look down and find them and stop playing the game. So this allows me, if you watch some of my playthroughs, especially in early game, I'm just opening up my skill window and assigning points and right in the middle of battle. I'm not even waiting. I do the same with like equipment because I'm just checking if it's stronger there and I'm putting it on. So because everything is like right there, I can open windows and close them really fast depending on what's going on screen. So before we jump into the movement settings of some of the top players on the planet, I do want to say if you guys have setups that you love and you swear by, please include them in the comments below so that more people get access to those. The whole point of this video is to help people see what the options are so they can start setting up the settings the way they want them and enjoy their game more. So now let's jump into it. The first one I want to show you is one that uses the wheel mouse. This one is used by a ton of players. It keeps them constantly moving and keeps all their buttons open and free on their mouse for doing the attacks that they want. So they generally leave the basic where it was versus what I did where I switch it to G. And then they come here and they set that by wheeling up and then wheeling down. Now, what I have noticed, there is people who absolutely swear by this, have certain types of mouses, for the most part, that you don't have the little thing that are clicks. But you can see as I'm rolling, you see those little circles. That's generally the effect that's being created and it's going to fall around. So I just keep wheeling that. And then I still have my other buttons available to me. So I can still left click my basic and right click my core. The one thing I do want to note, so the free flowing wheel, sometimes there's a button on the controller. I actually happen to have one. And that just makes it a lot lighter to use. You do not have to move. It's not that constant clicking. There is not a lot of friction. Makes it, especially for long gameplay, just feel a lot better over time. So try those out, see what you like. If you do like the clicking, you can also, you know, the rolling that has the clicks, feel free to use that too, but just test it and see what works for you. So one of the reasons I didn't actually spend a lot more time using the wheel, I did try it. I almost played a whole season with it. Is that it just got uncomfortable to have like one of my fingers always active. I have 3 fingers on my mouse and it felt awkward in my hand. So I did find another thing that top players are doing and similar to that, but what they do is instead of putting it on the mouse wheel, they actually just put it to a single button. That can be on your keyboard if you want, but I like a lot of the players that put it on the thumb. So on the thumb on the mouse, they just put it there so they can just hold that at all times. So right here, I'm gonna go set that. So it's already set M4. That's the one on the side for me. Save changes, and then when I move around, now I'm doing the same thing without having to wheel the mouse all the time. I still have both my buttons open on my mouse, and then the side one I can just hold while I'm holding the mouse. So this is another great option for upping up some of those things, especially in endgame. If you guys don't know, a lot of times we stop using basics because we don't need the resource regeneration, and there's other skills that would help us do more damage or just make better quality of life. So a lot of the top builds at some point will get rid of their basic skill altogether, unless they are focused on that, which was a thing we got to see last season, which is pretty cool. But for the most part, that is something that does come up a lot in endgame. Okay, so now I do want to show you guys some extra things that are just convenient if you need them. A lot of times when you get into higher density into the endgame and you're trying to control everything and make sure you know where you are, you can get a little mixed up. Everything is kind of a bland color. Especially in darker regions, there's not a lot of things to like make it crazy stand out. Now, this does mess with the realism. So if you are one of those people that want as authentic as possible, it's probably not going to work for you. But everybody else, if you guys want an option and you just want to have an easier time just like locating where your player is relative to all the monsters, you come in here and you can hit this display player highlight. You click on that button and then we'll save changes and go and show you what that is. So you see now I have just kind of a glow around me that's green and an outline. So when everything's like going crazy, you don't lose where you are relative to everything else. Now, an additional thing that is kind of cool is if that's not enough, like if just not knowing where you are so you can stay out of danger isn't enough, you can also increase the highlights of the surrounding monsters. So if I, again, gameplay, go down here, I'm gonna go additional Yeah, additional highlights. I'm going to check this. And now my player will color a certain one, my NPCs, which include my minions, and the enemy. So I'm green, enemy's red, and then my minions are blue. So we'll save those changes. And so it's really subtle. It's even lighter than what we noticed before, but I can make it very clear. We'll go in here again. I don't know, I keep clicking the first thing. We'll go 100%, so you can't miss it. So we have the blue on our minions, we have the green on me, and that. So that's just a great option for your ability to see yourself in crazy combat and not get lost because you're scanning so many things trying to figure out what's going on. So another additional one, and this is something like I talked earlier about setting an elixir here. And so you have this wheel here. You can actually also keybind those directly as well. So now if you want to say, if we're on the home row like we were before, and I want those C and V right under the home row are still available, I can come in here, go to controls, scroll down to the bottom, and it actually lets me set any of those rounds. So first we're going to do the middle is where you open up. So I was pointing this way over here. So now if I click here and hit C and save changes, I can actually target that part right here. See, it already says C. Now when I hit C, I'm just loading up my potion, so it's just renewed. So that's another thing that can help you get a lot out of your gameplay. But remember, these custom settings are here so you can make the game work for you. So anything you're not enjoying, make sure that you are checking those out. If you want some settings that I really recommend you should turn off, make sure you catch this video right here. If you just want some end game tips, make sure you catch this one.